So we've had a few people come up and ask, when it comes to setting lineups and getting your teams ready and the waiver wire, how does all this work? What does this look like? And really, what do I need to know? So we made a video tutorial here just to show you the very basics of how to run your fantasy team and how to manage and operate your lineups. I'm doing this today on the ESPN.com computer version. I don't have that video for the app version yet, but all the same functionalities are there. You would need to tool around with it a little bit. If you are on a mobile device, though, you can go to ESPN.com in your Safari browser and visit this website here, so you can do it this way if you're more comfortable. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be looking at the home page here. This is the ESPN.com homepage, and over here on the left-hand side you should be able to see my mouse going up and down, and I'll guide you through some key points that will help you out as you start on your team here. So what you'll do is you will make sure that you are logged in here. I am logged in at the moment. If you do need to log in, there's a button right over here that says log in. Log in with your username and password, and then your home page will appear. You can also see over here on this side, this is your favorites. These are your fantasy teams, so depending on how many leagues you're in, they will all appear here. So you can pick whichever one that you like. So just for today's example, I'm going to click on this league here. This will take you to your team's homepage where you'll have all the information that you need in front of you. Now the biggest thing that we're going to look at first is setting your lineup. If you scroll down here like this, you can see these are all the players that are on my team and that are also on your team. The biggest thing that you'll need to do is make sure that you have your players in the right slots to play the games that you want them to play. So on the top here you have your starters. These are the players that will be in the game and scoring points for you. Over here are the bench. These are your spare players. Any players that are in the starting lineup will score points for you that week. Any players that are on the bench will not. So it's very important to make sure that you start the players that you do want to start. This is also where the start times are particularly helpful. So you see over here, this is the list of the players. Over here it shows week 1. This is the opponent team and the time of the game. So over here you can see most of the games, and you'll find throughout most of the season, are on Sundays. You can also see the start time here. Some games are on different days though. This over here, for example, Kelvin Benjamin will be playing on Thursday at the game time will be 8:30 p.m. This is very important to realize because once the game starts, wherever that player is, once their game begins, you cannot move them. So if it comes Friday or Saturday and I want to make some changes to my lineup, Kelvin Benjamin would be locked in because his game is Thursday at 8:30. This is why it's very helpful and recommended that you check your lineups on Wednesday night or Thursday morning to make sure that you have any players that night that you want to start or sit and have made those decisions. Now let's say I want to take Kelvin Benjamin and I want to take him out of the game for whatever reason. I can click on this button here that says move. Now what's interesting here is it shows you all the places that you can move Kelvin Benjamin. You can move him into the flex spot because the flex is either a running back, wide receiver, or tight end. They can go here. Or I can move him off over here to the bench. That is an option that I have as well. So if I choose to move him here, all of a sudden that spot is now open and I can swap in another player. Of course, that player does need to be a wide receiver. So if I wanted to move in Tyler Lockett, for example, I can click move, and then that open spot is available. You can click here, and then when you're done, don't forget to hit submit. Now your lineup is set, you're done, you're good to go. If you do want to make any changes, you can do so up until those players start playing their games. Now another thing to keep in mind too is you'll see some of these informations next to each player. These red letters. You may have seen a P, a Q, an O, or various other letters. What those are current statuses for your players. So over here a Q means questionable. That's about a 50% chance that that player is going to start or not. And again, keep in mind, once the game starts, you cannot move that player even if they are injured. So it is important to check your Qs, or mind your Ps and Qs for really bad pun. But anyway, so a Q means questionable, P means probable. That player is probably going to start. There's a fairly good chance. Q is again questionable, about 50-50. O stands for out. That player will not be starting That is for sure. They may enter later in the game, but they will not be considered a starter. Also, if you see IR, that means injured reserve. Those players are out on injury and they will not be back for some time. SSPD are suspended. So for example, Tom Brady right now is SSPD, which means suspended, means he will not play. So don't start him if you have him this week. Also, another interesting thing that you'll see next to these players here is some of them have these little papers next to them with a little fire. Those are breaking news. You can click on them and it will show some news regarding that player. And again, if it's breaking news, that means that the news has been updated within the last 24 hours. So especially as game time arrives, I always like to check in here and check on these newsprints to see what's happening, to get some insider feedback and information. It can be very helpful. Also, this overview is pretty nice too, so you can see everything that they've done throughout the course of the season. So that's the basics of setting your lineup. So again, I'm going to do this here. I want to start, I want to move Kelvin Benjamin back, so we'll click on Move. I will move him over here to where Kelvin Benjamin is. Kelvin will automatically go back here, and then I will click Submit, and then my lineup is set. So always be sure that you're doing that each week. That's really the big thing that you need to do. And also too, what you'll start seeing is over here, especially when we start getting to bye weeks, this information here will be blank. If this is blank, that means that this player does not have anybody playing against them this week. You'll need to dig into the bench to find a replacement. So do keep those in mind. And those are really the basics to setting your lineup. So some other information that you might find helpful here too is looking over the 2015 season. These are your averages that this player performed last year. So last year, PRK means position rank. So how strong were they in relation to everybody else in their position last year? Points is total number of points scored. And then also the average is how many points averaged per week. The higher, the better. Moving over onto the right-hand side, these are projections for week 1 here. So projected points, that's the total number that ESPN thinks they'll earn. Again, a nice guideline there, but of course subjective opinion counts. What's interesting here is the OPRK, opposition rank. So how good is the other team's player that they are going against? So in this case, Blake Bortles, he's going against a strong quarterback. It's not necessarily a favorable matchup for him. This isn't used as much. What I like to pay more attention to is percent ST. That's how many players of how many teams in the total ESPN are starting that player or that unit. So if you see it's particularly low, there might be a reason why. If you see it's nice and high, you can feel a bit more confident making that selection. Also here is an interesting one, percent owned. So even though players aren't being started, how many leagues own them? What percentage of leagues in ESPN own them? And I also like this too here. This is the change in percent owned. So you can go ahead here and see if people have gone up or gone down in terms of their ownership. Here it's pretty steady. Down below here, for example, Laquan Treadwell, in the wake of Teddy Bridgewater's injury, has been losing a lot of ownership because people don't believe that he'll be thrown to. So this is a nice tool to see a little bit about your players. I'm going to cover 2 more things very quickly here, and I'll actually make a change myself to show you how it works. So you've probably all heard the phrase waiver wire. Now what the waiver wire is all the players that have not been drafted or not been claimed by teams, they're available for you to pick up. The way you can find them is by clicking on this players button here. The players that are called free agents will appear, and you can see them all in order down below. They also have similar type columns that they had under the My Team screen. My personal favorite is to look at the percent owned to see which players or teams are owned very highly, and then to look at the changes as well. So you can see if there's a hot pickup, maybe you can get in. If there is a negative, you can see if somebody's losing. So it's a nice little tool there that you can use to sort out that data. You can also go ahead here and choose by position. So if you need a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, you can see who's available. In this case, I need a defense. I'm looking at mine right now. I have the Raiders. I don't necessarily want them. But I'm going to go ahead and look at the Rams because the Rams are playing the 49ers, who statistically aren't that great of a team. You can see it's a favorable matchup for them here under the OPRK rating. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick them up. To do that, you click on the Add button, and then it will come here. Now, you only have 16 spots on your roster, or 17, depending on which league you're in. So you can't have more players than that. You can't simply stash everybody in the league on your team and then leave the rest out to dry. So if you get to a certain quota, you have to take one, you have to drop one. So in this case, I'm going to take the Rams defense, and this week I'm going to drop the Raiders defense. So I will take the Rams, I will put in the, I will drop the Raiders, and that way I will keep my total at 16. You'll then go ahead and click Submit Your Roster. And I'll ask you if you want to confirm, and then if you do, you click on the Confirm button, and then your pickup will be done. So I'll go ahead and confirm there. And then it'll take you back to your team. Your new players will automatically start on the bench, so do make sure that you move them in to have your starting lineup filled and complete, and then hit Submit, and you'll be done. So that's a little bit about how the waiver wire works. I do like to check it out and do keep it on tab. Now, interestingly, the way it works too is on Tuesdays, the waiver wire is closed. You can go ahead and submit what are called claims. And based off of your team's performance, you may have priority with those claims. So if you're not performing as well, you will actually be higher on the claim window. So if 3 teams claim 1 player on Tuesday, the team with the worst record or the lowest amount of points scored will take priority and will take that player. If it's Wednesday, it's free game, open for everybody. So do keep that in mind when it comes to the waiver wire. The last thing I just want to cover very quickly is proposing trades. So let's say you need a quarterback and you've looked on the waiver wire, there's nobody you really want. Maybe you can make a deal with another team. In that case, go here under Teams. You can find another team. So let's see here. And then the option to propose the trade clicks here. Now what you can do is you can look at the players that are on the other roster. So if I want Russell Wilson, I can click on him. And then let's say I'm willing to give up, I've got some extra wide receivers, so I'm willing to give up Mike Evans and trade. Then I can click on Finalize Trade Offer, and then I can send that off to the other team. Now the important thing to keep in mind too when it comes to trades is that there is a veto authority, and that's to protect the league against collusion. So to make sure that all trades are fair and beneficial for everybody, what will happen is the trade, once it's finalized, the rest of the league will have the opportunity to vote on it. If more than half of the league chooses to veto the trade is canceled. And again, that's up to the league members. If the league goes ahead and chooses to keep the trade, which most of the time does happen, the trade goes through and both players will be sent over to their respective teams. So make sure that you do that. And if you do want to make any trades, highly recommend that you do it on Tuesday. That way the players will be available for your Thursday night game if you need them. So that's it from me here. I just want to do a quick run through here, just some basic facts. So again, make sure you do set your lineups. You can do that under My Team here. Really basic, just make sure that you have all these players filled and that they all have a team. And also keep in mind your Qs and your probables. Make sure that everyone is going to be playing, that you don't have anybody who's injured. If you do want to go to the waiver wire, you can visit that under the Players tab here. And if you do want to go make any trade with teams or evaluate them, you can go under Teams and select the team that you want. So big thanks from me. Good luck. Any questions, let me know. Thanks and have a good one.